All right, it's time to be completely honest here. And there's going to be two truths here. The first one is that I'm not really a huge fan of anime related games, meaning games that are based off of animes. And the reason why is because I am typically disappointed with them. Like that's not a secret. I'm very vocal about that. And it's an unfortunate truth. But the other truth to that is that when Fairy Tail 2 got announced, I was very excited for it. And the reason why I was very excited for it is because the first Fairy Tail game I thoroughly enjoyed playing. The second one, I had expectations for. And typically, I don't have expectations for anime related games because of the aforementioned lack of not enjoying, or not lack of, but the not enjoying anime related games. So, setting expectations is not something that I typically do. But to say that I was completely blown away and that all my expectations were completely exceeded by this game here, the sequel, is an understatement. So those guys who are new and those of you guys who haven't seen me in a while, I am Goshen and welcome to Goshen's Games, and today we're talking about Fairy Tail 2. A game that let's be honest, just because of the type of game it is, it's not really like a high profile game. This game is made for fans of the series. I mean, if you're not a fan of Fairy Tail, this game probably won't be on your radar, but if somehow this video did reach you, I actually encourage you guys to give this one a shot. Now, going into this game without talking about spoilers, because I'm not going to talk about spoilers. I want to first off mention that you don't really need to follow the series to understand the story for this game. You also don't need to have played the previous game to understand the story of this game. So I want you to go into this knowing that, so that way if you do pick up this game and you didn't play the first one, you're not worrying about having to play the first one. Because I will tell you straight up, if you play this game and then decide to go play the first one, you're going to be disappointed in the first one because of how good this game is. And that's not something that I say lightly. The first Fairy Tail was a turn-based RPG. Didn't have that much exploration. You go from point A to point B, and there wasn't really like any sort of open world exploration into the game. It didn't really encourage you to go into the different areas and fully explore them. The first game was more of a hub-based game, and then you have zone-in areas. So you go into each zone-in area from an overworld map, and then that's it. You explore those areas very shortly. Usually you're in those areas because you have quests that you have to do or to proceed with the story. The second game, on the other hand, takes all that away and makes it an open world exploration aspect to it. So you have areas that you can go into at any point in the game. You don't need to follow any sort of quest. You don't need to follow the story to go into those spots. There will be some segments that are blocked off that you can't access until you unlock certain abilities, however. But for the most part, it is an open world game. The other thing here is that I'm not really a fan of very many open world games. However, that's because a lot of them follow the same type of formula. You go and you do fetch quests, you go point A to point B, you go climb this tower to that way unlock all the different areas or unlock everything in the area so you can see where everything is. Typically, this type of formula was established in the Assassin's Creed games, and you haven't seen anything different since. This game, however, does not do that. Instead of having to climb certain areas to be able to unlock an eagle-eye view or anything like that, or a vantage point, this game has elite boss monsters. Now, if you defeat these elite boss monsters, then that will go ahead and show you everything that's in the map around that elite boss monster. However, you're not going to be able to do this early on in the game because they are going to be much stronger than you. So about halfway through, you'll be able to notice that you're strong enough to be able to start defeating some of these elite boss monsters, which will then show you the different things in the area. So I like this because this is completely different from what you see in your typical open world game. And I honestly, this is a nice breath of fresh air because I'm so tired of the same old trope that you find in open world games, and that's why those open world games typically bore me. And yeah, I say that full well knowing that I do play some open world games like Death Stranding and Horizon and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So to say that this is very different and they handle it differently, it's an understatement, and it's such a nice change of pace and such a good quality of life update. It makes you feel like you accomplished something instead of just climbing the same menial tower over and over again. The combat from the first game, like I said, it was a turn-based RPG that followed kind of like a grid style. So your characters would attack in like a grid style pattern, adding some sort of like strategy to the combat, which was nice. It was fresh. It was different. Not so different that you didn't see it in other RPGs, because you did. There were other RPGs that did similar stuff like Radiant Historia. But this one, Fairy Tail 2, adopts the combat system from Atelier Ryza, and it does it extremely well. It fits. The combat is fast, it's fluid, it's flashy. It's everything the first game wasn't. The first game was very flashy when you did the attacks, but it wasn't fast, it wasn't fluid. It didn't feel like a shonen anime. This one feels like a shonen anime, the way the combat is designed. And the entire game is based off of the Atelier Ryza engine, and it shows, and it's very much appreciated. They took everything from the Atelier Ryza series and they improved on it. And so those of you who are familiar with Atelier Ryza will be right at home with this game. And those of you who are not, you will appreciate the combat because of how fast it is. In combat, you have to level up your fairy rank in combat to be able to do more and more attacks and more abilities. Underneath each character, you have basically an ability gauge, which is indicated by some green diamonds. So the more green diamonds you have, you'll be able to do the abilities over and over, or you'll be able to do higher level abilities. When you improve your fairy rank in the middle of combat, the amount of green diamonds that you can now accumulate increases, allowing you to do much larger, grander attacks. Unfortunately, after each combat, it does reset back, but you level it up fairly quickly. Combat is pretty intricate for a game that is fast-paced such as this. You have break abilities, you have break bars. When an enemy is charging up an attack, there is an indicator that indicates what type of attack you have to use in order to break the enemy so that it interrupts their attack. Also, breaking the ability allows you to do linked attacks, and then when you fully break an enemy, you can do unison raids. Unison raids are very cool. Probably one of my favorite things about the combat. It allows you to link up with any one of the Fairy Tail partners, and if you link up with the correct partners, such as Juvia and Gray, or Natsu and Gray, or Urza and Wendy, Urza and Mira, if you link up the correct ones, they will do a unison raid that is specific to them and does more damage. And it's really cool to watch. Unfortunately, there is one character who I'm not going to say, who does not have a unison raid that is linked with anybody. So anytime you do a unison raid with this character, it will be a generic unison raid. That's not to say that the unison raid doesn't do an immense amount of damage, even if you do a generic one. But when you link them up properly with the correct characters, then they do special unison raids, which then do more damage. In this game, there is no levels. Instead of levels, they do ranks. And the ranks on the characters, instead of giving you stat increases like a typical level would, it basically gives you a point to unlock the skill trees. And in the skill trees is where you'll find most of your character stats. So you'll find HP ups, attack ups, speed ups. You'll find awakening abilities. In these skill trees, you'll unlock the different abilities that the characters can use, on top of being able to then also increase team abilities. So you'll be able to improve the team's stats as you unlock every character's trees. Now, here's where the combat kind of kind of. Let's put an asterisk on that because it's not that it's a downside. It's just that I wish it was tweaked a little bit. So this combat system or the party system only allows you to use 3 characters at a time to start. And I say kind of it's a downside because I would have liked to have seen at least 4, because then we could have had like triple unison raids or different things that you can do with having the 4 characters. But the game only allows you to use 3 at a time, and the problem here is that you have such a large cast of characters in your roster. Basically, all the main fairy tale characters they are all on your roster. When I say fairy tale characters, I'm talking about the fairy tale guild characters. I'm not talking about the characters themselves. So don't expect Jalal to be on your party, Sting, characters like that are not part of the fairy tale guild. But these characters are used for other things, which I'll explain in a minute. So to kind of combat this system of the 3-character party and having this massive roster, you can swap the characters in and out throughout combat as you please to change up your party. So if you're fighting an enemy that you find resists your attacks, you can swap them out for the characters that are strong against those attacks or strong against the enemies. The other thing is that you can also swap them out for characters who can break the enemy to be able to do the unison raids and knock them out. The reason why I said it's kind of a downgrade or downside, but not, is because of that. So they have a way to implement it to allow you to use the different characters, but then I find myself not using certain characters on a regular basis, like Gajeel, for example. I don't typically use Gajeel that much because there's other characters that seem to do things better. Plus, I found that as I progressed through the game, when I was trying to unlock all the skill trees, for some reason, I couldn't find the items for Gajeel to unlock his skill tree as quickly as I could for the other characters. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know. As far as the side characters go, so the characters that are not in the Fairy Tail Guild, such as Jalal, Sting, and the other characters as well. For some reason, I can't think off the top of my head, like Kagura. They are called supporting characters. So you can use these supporting characters at certain times of the game. They will join your party, but as supporting characters. So after you do a certain amount of damage, or after you use a certain amount of your abilities, then these characters will jump in and do an ability themselves. Some of them will heal, some of them will buff, some of them will attack the enemy, some of them will do elemental damage, status effects, different things, and they all have their own special attack animations, and it's really cool to see. I just wish that you could use some of these characters, because there are some moments that these characters should be used in the party just because of the anime and then the story that it follows. On top of that, there are extreme magic abilities that these support characters activate. So not only can you use these characters as support characters, but you can unlock extreme abilities, which is, it gives you a card ability for these characters. The first one that you get is for Happy and Lily and I can't remember the other one's name, but the three Happy characters. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank. I don't know why. It's fine. It's fine. That's the first one that you get to kind of use as a tutorial. But funny enough, that being the first one that you get, for me, it was one of the most useful. It healed. It buffs your characters. It debuffs the enemies all at the same time. You do get a stronger version of this later on towards the end of the game. But again, I'm not going to spoil it. It's not Happy. It's a different character that does this. And it basically invalidates the Happy one, but the Happy one is a cheap cost one, so you can use it much more frequently as opposed to the end game one. Exploration in this game, I had a good time exploring things in this game. They did it right. Instead of the first game where you had a quest board and you had to go look at the quest board, then you had to go to the quest, and they only allowed you to use one quest at a time. Instead, this game allows you to take multiple quests all at once, but there's no quest board. Instead, you find the quests as you explore. So you find random NPCs that need help. Most of the time, you're getting an item for them, and that's it. It really has no significant impact whether or not you do these side quests. You don't really need to unless you're a completionist. I'm not a completionist, so I didn't really do all of them. I just did some, and if I had the item, I turned it in. But other than that, I didn't really touch on the side quests. They were kind of forgettable. Not really impactful like the first game was. You kind of had to do the side quests in order to progress. The way that this story is told and the pacing is absolutely incredible. Compared to the first game, the pacing felt kind of slow. And that had to do with the way that the story was told and the way that you progress with the quest board. So having to do the quest board and having to do the same things over and over again kind of like slow the pacing down. In this game, however, you don't have that problem. The pacing, you could go from point A to point B all the way to the end of the game if you really wanted to, just doing nothing but just playing the story. And you could probably finish the game within 15 hours. I have a total of 30 hours in this game because I did explore. I did look for the items to be able to upgrade my character trees. I did level my characters, which I say level my characters, but rank up. I did rank up my characters quite a bit, so much so that at the end of the game I was kind of over leveled or over ranked, and the boss was basically my bitch. But the game is so much fun to play. And those of you who are curious, I will tell you the story arc that it follows. It follows the Spriggan 12 arc, the final arc of the series, and it does do it to a T. It does it very, very well. And just like the anime, the game has very flashy moments. And by the time I was done playing the game, I applauded it. I gave it, if I could give it a standing ovation, I would, but my leg is broken right now. So I applauded it. I was streaming it on TikTok, and I applauded it because it was such a good game. I had such a good time. When those credits rolled, I was not disappointed. My runtime came up to 30 hours, and even after finishing the game, guess what? There's endgame content, and guess what? That endgame content was not locked to DLC. That was endgame content that you can just play. After you finish the main game, there is now game exclusive content. That is the end game content. And man, when I tell you that made me so happy, it made me so happy because a lot of games these days don't do that. You want end game content, you got to pay for it. This one, you didn't have to do that. You get end game content, you finish the game, there is more. You finish the story, there is more. Now there is DLC for the game. If you did get the digital deluxe edition, you get a Atelier story because of it being on the Atelier Ryza engine. So there is an Atelier Ryza collaboration. You do get some Atelier Ryza costumes as well as a Lucy story called Atelier Lucy. The Ultimate Edition will come with it'll come with the Season Pass, which honestly, like, I'm going to get the Season Pass. I had so much fun with this game, I'm going to get the Season Pass. I will say that the game was sent to me by Koei Tecmo. I should have said that in the beginning. That was my bad. The game was sent to me by Koei Tecmo, but I had such a good time with this game. And those of you who are frequent viewers of mine know that if I don't like a game, I will say I don't like a game. Doesn't matter if it was sent to me or not. This game, I had so much fun playing. I could not stop playing this game. From start to finish, I could not stop playing it. I played it almost for 2 days straight and finished the game. I haven't done that in a very long time, and I was so happy to finish the game. Not happy because, like, oh, this game went on forever. No, I was happy because the game legitimately made me have a good time playing it. So I hope that you guys do give this game a shot. I recommend it. I'm not saying it because Koei Tecmo sent me the game. They don't pay for my reviews. Nobody pays me for my reviews. If I'm doing a review, I'm not taking money. Yeah, they gave me the game. That's it. But I'm giving my full-on review. Honestly, the first game is a 7.5 for me. The second game, this one, 8 out of 10. Easy. There wasn't very many things that I disliked about the game, and I highly recommend it. So go play the game and have yourself a good time. I wish it was a demo for you guys, but here's some gameplay throughout this entire video, so hopefully you can see the gameplay and maybe have some fun with it. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah! どころかな。ビッグスティークだ。
これで戦える。
このくらいは当然ね。
援護する。尽力は惜しまない。エルザ力になる。
王国の掃除。
頑張ります。天竜のやって
恩に切る。
この調子で頑張りますね。テイクオフ。体勢を崩しましょう。
発動。中神の鎧。報いを受けよ。中神制裁。ミラ。
腕の見せ所かな。やっビッグスティークだ。
ありがたい。
このくらいは当然ね。
出よ、とうとう紅桜。
頑張ります。天竜のやってない。この調子で頑張りますね。
王国の掃除。
ミラ、エルザとなら余裕よね。
私たち二人なら余裕だな。フェアリーテイルの力見せてくれる。これで戦える。